Welcome back to 1337, The Future of Podcast. I'm Max, and this is Sophia.
Hi, everyone.
And we're so glad you could join us for another deep dive. Today we're tackling a couple of really interesting books. Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life and Beyond Order.
Yeah, these books, they really offer some unique perspectives on navigating life's complexities, drawing on all sorts of different fields, like psychology, philosophy, even mythology.
Right, and they both kind of have this underlying message of confronting the chaos that's inherent in being alive, not shying away from it, but actually leaning into it.
Yeah, it's like he's saying, look, life is going to throw you curveballs, it's messy, it's unpredictable, but it's within that chaos that we can actually find real meaning and growth.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The first rule that really caught my eye was, do not carelessly denigrate social institutions or creative achievement.
Oh yeah, that one's great. He uses this really interesting anecdote about a client who found success and fulfillment by embracing his role within a company.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. The guy was super cynical at first. He just couldn't see any value in the corporate world.
Exactly. But Peterson challenged him to really engage with it, to see the potential. And you know what? The guy actually ended up thriving in that environment.
It makes you wonder, how often do we write off entire systems or institutions without even giving them a fair chance? We get caught up in the flaws and we miss the potential benefits.
Totally. And it's not about blindly accepting everything. It's about approaching things with a bit more nuance, seeing the good along with the bad, and understanding that within those structures there might be opportunities for growth and even positive change.
So don't just tear things down without really understanding them. Okay, so moving on to rule 2. Imagine who you could be, and then aim single-mindedly at that. This one seems pretty straightforward.
It does, but Peterson adds this really cool layer to it by using the analogy of the dragon. You know that ancient symbol that represents both peril and promise?
Oh yeah, so it's like saying, set ambitious goals, but also acknowledge that the path to achieving those goals will be filled with challenges and uncertainty, but also potentially huge rewards.
Exactly. The dragon embodies both the obstacles we face and the potential for transformation that lies within those obstacles.
So for our listeners out there, what dragons are you facing on your journey? And what treasures might you find if you face them head on?
Now, for a rule that might hit a little closer to home, Rule 3, do not hide unwanted things in the fog.
Ooh, this one's about honesty and communication.
Yeah.
Even when it's tough.
Right. He uses this relatable example of a couple arguing about something seemingly trivial, the size of their dinner plates.
But of course, it's not really about the plates, is it?
Nope. It quickly escalates into this big fight that exposes all these deeper, unresolved issues that they've been avoiding.
It's like we think we're protecting ourselves or others by sweeping things under the rug, but really those unaddressed issues just fester and grow, like they're hiding in the fog waiting to jump out at us.
Exactly. And what's key here is the connection to personal responsibility. By confronting those issues head on, we're taking ownership of our emotions and actions, which paves the way for more authentic communication and actually allows us to grow as individuals.
I like that. Okay, so rule 4. Notice that opportunity lurks where responsibility has been abdicated. Now, this one sounds a little cryptic.
It does, right? But Peterson uses this, kind of funny anecdote that he calls the flip chart controversy to illustrate it. Apparently, in a client's workplace, there was this huge debate about whether the term flip chart was offensive.
Wait, seriously? A flip chart?
I know, right? It sounds absurd, but it highlights this tendency to get bogged down in really insignificant details while ignoring bigger systemic problems.
So it's like a form of abdicated responsibility. We focus on the little things to avoid dealing with the real challenges.
Exactly. And Peterson urges us to look for those areas where responsibility has been dropped and step up. Those are the places where we can actually make a real difference.
That's a great point. Okay, so moving on to something a little more personal. Rule V. Do not do what you hate. Seems self-explanatory, but I'm sure there's more to it.
Oh, there always is. Peterson delves into the psychological impact of feeling stuck in a job or a situation that clashes with your values.
Right. And he tells this story about a client who felt completely trapped in her corporate job. It was draining her and just making her miserable.
And she was terrified to leave. The whole fear of the unknown, financial stability, all of that.
But Peterson encouraged her to pursue her real passion, which was journalism, even though it meant taking a huge risk.
And the key takeaway there is that sometimes the most courageous and ultimately fulfilling choice is to align our actions with our deepest values, even if it means stepping outside our comfort zones and facing those fears.
Absolutely. Okay, so rule 6, This one feels very relevant, especially nowadays. Abandon ideology.
Oh, this is a big one, especially in our current climate.
Right. So Peterson's argument here is that clinging to rigid ideologies actually prevents us from understanding complex issues and engaging in real problem solving.
He's not saying to abandon all beliefs or principles, but rather to be wary of those fixed systems of thought that can blind us to alternative perspectives.
It's like he's saying, think for yourself, question everything.
Exactly. Don't just blindly accept what you're told. Formulate your own conclusions based on careful consideration and critical thinking.
And he connects this to the increasing polarization of opinions, right? Like we're all retreating into our own echo chambers and we're not engaging in real dialogue anymore.
Right. And he challenges us to break free from those echo chambers and engage with people who hold different viewpoints, even opposing viewpoints.
Because that's how we grow. That's how we learn. And that's how we discover truth.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to a rule that I think a lot of people can relate to. Work as hard as you possibly can on at least one thing and see what happens.
Oh, I love this one. It's all about the power of dedication and focused effort.
He shares a really fascinating story about the impact of some Soviet-era art in his university office. At first, he didn't think much of it, but as he spent more time with it, he started to see a depth and beauty that he hadn't noticed before.
Right. He wasn't trying to force anything. He just allowed himself to be present with the art. And it ended up transforming his whole perception of it.
And it even brought this whole new energy to his workspace. It's like his dedicated attention to the art, even though it wasn't his primary focus, had this ripple effect that impacted his entire environment.
That's so cool. It shows that even in those areas that might seem mundane or unimportant, if we really dedicate ourselves to something, we can unlock hidden beauty and meaning.
And who knows, maybe even transform our lives in the process.
Exactly.
And in Beyond Order, Peterson kind of takes this idea of hard work and dedication a step further. He introduces this really interesting concept that confronting life's darkness, even actively seeking out difficult experiences, can actually lead to profound growth and a deeper sense of meaning.
Well, that's interesting. It seems kind of counterintuitive, though, right? Like our natural instinct is to avoid pain and discomfort.
It is. But he's suggesting that by leaning into those experiences, we can become stronger and more resilient. Like, think about the classic hero's journey. It's always filled with trials and tribulations, but it's by overcoming those challenges that the hero transforms and achieves greatness.
Yeah, he talks about the importance of having a story, a narrative that gives our lives structure and purpose. And he even suggests that consciously choosing a more difficult path can actually be more fulfilling than just taking the easy route.
Right. It's about actively engaging with life's complexities instead of just passively drifting along. It's a call to action. We're not meant to just exist. We're meant to truly live. And this idea actually connects really well with his kind of unconventional rule about making one room in your home as beautiful as possible.
Oh, yeah. That one seemed a bit out of place at first. But now I'm curious to see how he ties beauty to meaning.
Oh, he argues that beauty has this incredible power to elevate us, to connect us to something larger than ourselves, something transcendent. It reminds us of what's truly valuable, especially in a world that can often feel chaotic and meaningless.
He uses his own experience to illustrate this, right? Talking about his fascination with Soviet-era art.
Yeah. He initially found those pieces kind of unremarkable, but as he spent more time with them, he began to see a depth and beauty that he hadn't noticed before.
It wasn't instant gratification, was it? It was about slowing down, paying attention, and allowing the beauty to kind of unfold gradually.
Exactly. And this connects to a larger point he makes about the dangers of ideology. Ideologies often try to impose this simplistic one-size-fits-all framework on a complex and nuanced world. And in doing so, they often strip away the beauty and the wonder.
He cautions against sacrificing beauty for the sake of political agendas, arguing that it ultimately diminishes our humanity.
It's about recognizing that beauty can exist in unexpected places and being open to experiencing it without letting ideology dictate our perceptions. It's about cultivating a sense of curiosity and wonder.
Being open to new experiences, challenging our own assumptions.
Exactly. He even encourages us to listen to people who disagree with us, to consider perspectives that challenge our own, because that's how we grow and expand our understanding of the world.
He makes a really good point that even exposing ourselves to opposing viewpoints can actually strengthen our own beliefs, make them more resilient and well-rounded.
It's about engaging in thoughtful dialogue, testing our ideas and refining our understanding through respectful debate.
Embracing intellectual diversity and recognizing that truth is often multifaceted and complex. And this process of intellectual exploration, of challenging and refining our beliefs, it's an ongoing journey, not a destination.
Right. It's about adopting a growth mindset, acknowledging that there's always more to learn and that we can always strive to improve our understanding. And this ties in really well with his emphasis on aiming high, on constantly working towards becoming a better version of ourselves, both intellectually and personally.
Okay, so speaking of personal growth, he delves pretty deeply into the dangers of resentment.
Yeah. He describes it as this corrosive emotion that can poison our hearts and really distort our perceptions of the world.
He portrays resentment as this insidious force that can lead to self-pity, bitterness, and even a desire for revenge. It often stems from a sense of victimhood, a belief that we've been unfairly treated by life or by others.
And he shares this really poignant story about a client who was struggling with chronic pain and was just consumed by resentment, convinced that life had dealt her a cruel hand. I'm really curious to know how he addressed that situation because chronic pain is incredibly challenging to deal with. It can feel all-consuming.
Well, he didn't dismiss her pain. He acknowledged that it was real and debilitating. But he challenged her to shift her focus, to concentrate on what she could control, on finding meaning and purpose despite her suffering.
So it's about recognizing that even in the midst of pain and adversity, we still have agency. We can still choose how we respond and how we frame our experiences.
That's such a powerful message.
Yeah.
Especially for those facing really difficult circumstances.
It's a reminder that even when life throws us curveballs, we can still choose to find meaning and to connect with something larger than ourselves. And he talks about the importance of cultivating gratitude, of actively recognizing the good in our lives, even when things are tough.
Yeah, it's about shifting our perspective from what we lack to what we have, from what's wrong to what's right.
And he suggests that gratitude can be a potent antidote to resentment, helping us reframe our experiences and find a sense of peace and acceptance.
It's not about ignoring the negative or pretending that everything is perfect. It's about making a deliberate effort to focus on the positive aspects of our lives, no matter how small they may seem.
Right. He even highlights the benefits of focusing on the simple things, savoring those everyday moments that we often take for granted, taking a walk in nature, appreciating a beautiful sunset, enjoying a good meal. These are all opportunities to cultivate gratitude and experience joy in the present moment.
Yeah. He also emphasizes the power of ritual in our lives, suggesting that creating meaningful practices, both secular and religious, can connect us to something larger than ourselves and provide a sense of stability and order.
It's about introducing structure and intentionality into our lives, creating routines and practices that ground us and provide a sense of purpose. It can be as simple as having a regular date night with your partner or as elaborate as participating in a religious ceremony. The point is that these rituals can help us navigate the chaos of life. They offer a sense of grounding and stability in a world that can often feel unpredictable and overwhelming.
And this brings us back to that central theme in Peterson's work, right? Finding order in chaos.
Exactly. It's not about ignoring or denying the chaos, but about learning to navigate it skillfully, to find meaning and purpose within it, and to create our own sense of order and structure. He even suggests that confronting chaos head-on, embracing the difficult experiences of life, can be a catalyst for growth and transformation. It's about recognizing that challenges are an inevitable part of the human experience, and that it's through facing those challenges that we discover our true strength and resilience.
He uses that really striking image of the dragon again to illustrate this point, highlighting how the dragon represents both danger and opportunity. How it's by facing the dragon that we discover the treasure.
It's a powerful metaphor. It really encapsulates that duality of life. The idea that the things that challenge us the most often also hold the greatest potential for growth and reward. And this connects directly to his rule about doing what you hate, which might sound a little counterintuitive at first.
Yeah, it's about facing those tasks and situations that we instinctively want to avoid, the ones that make us uncomfortable and push us outside of our comfort zones.
He argues that it's precisely through those experiences that we build character, develop resilience, and cultivate a sense of mastery.
He tells this really compelling story about a client who was working in a corporate environment that she just found stifling and soul-crushing.
It sounds like she was trapped in a situation that was completely misaligned with her values and aspirations.
Exactly. And it was taking a huge toll on her well-being. She tried to ignore it, to just do her job and keep her head down. But the more she tried to avoid it, the more it seemed to consume her. It was like that unwanted thing hiding in the fog, always lurking in the back of her mind.
And it sounds like that avoidance was creating a growing sense of internal conflict, a feeling of being untrue to herself.
Yes, and she eventually reached a breaking point. She realized that she just couldn't continue living that way. She needed to make a change, even if it meant taking a big risk.
That's such a common struggle, isn't it? The comfort of familiarity versus the fear of the unknown.
And what Peterson helped her to see was that sometimes the most courageous choice is the one that takes us out of our comfort zone.
So it wasn't about making a rash decision or quitting her job impulsively. It was about creating a plan, exploring new possibilities, and gradually building a path towards a more fulfilling life.
Right. And he also encouraged her to be more assertive in her current role, to set boundaries and to push back against the things she found unacceptable.
It's about recognizing our own worth and advocating for ourselves, even within challenging environments.
It's about finding that balance between taking action to change our circumstances and finding ways to cope with the things we can't immediately change.
And it's about developing a strong sense of self-worth, recognizing that we deserve to be treated with respect, even in really difficult situations. You know, this idea of speaking up for ourselves, of standing up for what we believe in, connects really powerfully with his rule about abandoning ideology.
Oh, absolutely. When we become entangled in these rigid ideological frameworks, we often lose sight of our own values, our own internal compass of right and wrong.
We become so focused on adhering to the dictates of the ideology that we lose our capacity for independent thought and action.
He warns about the dangers of groupthink, of how easily we can be swayed by the opinions of others, especially in group settings where conformity often overrides individual judgment.
And he really stresses the importance of developing critical thinking skills, learning to evaluate information for ourselves, to question assumptions, and to form our own conclusions rather than just blindly accepting what we're told.
He uses this really interesting analogy of a wildebeest herd to illustrate this point.
Yeah, I remember this one. It's a great analogy.
He describes how individual wildebeests within a herd can become almost indistinguishable from one another, blending into this homogeneous mass.
It's a powerful image for the loss of individuality, for how easily we can just conform to the group, even when it goes against our own better judgment.
And to study individual wildebeests, you know what biologists had to do. They had to devise a way to make them stand out from the herd.
I'm intrigued. How did they do that?
They used red paint.
Red paint?
Yeah. They would drive up to the herd in a jeep, armed with buckets of red paint and sticks, and they would mark each wildebeest with this distinctive splotch of color.
That's hilarious, but it's also a really profound metaphor.
Right. It's about the importance of cultivating our own individuality, of finding ways to stand out from the crowd and embrace our unique qualities.
And Peterson argues that this is especially crucial in a world that's increasingly dominated by groupthink and ideological conformity. He encourages us to resist the pressure to blend in and instead to develop our own distinctive set of skills, talents, and perspectives.
It's about celebrating our differences, recognizing that our unique qualities are what make us valuable and contribute to the richness and diversity of the human experience.
And it's about having the courage to express those unique qualities, to let our own light shine, even when it feels risky or unconventional.
He emphasizes that this isn't just about personal fulfillment. It's also about contributing to the world in a meaningful way. It's about using our unique talents and perspectives to make a positive impact on the world around us.
And he argues that finding meaningful work that aligns with our passions and allows us to use our talents to contribute to something larger than ourselves, is essential for finding a sense of purpose and fulfillment in life.
And he stresses that this isn't just about finding a job that pays the bills. It's about finding something that gives us a sense of purpose, something that makes us feel like we're making a real difference.
Exactly. It can be volunteering, raising a family, pursuing a creative passion, starting a business, working within a traditional career path. The key is to find something that aligns with our values and allows us to use our talents to make a positive contribution to the world.
And that brings us back to the idea of aiming high, of striving to become the best version of ourselves. It's about recognizing that we have the potential to achieve great things, and that our lives have a purpose beyond just survival.
It's about embracing the journey of personal growth, of continually challenging ourselves to learn, grow, and contribute in meaningful ways. And it's about recognizing that our efforts, no matter how small they may seem, can ripple outwards, impacting the lives of others and creating a more positive and fulfilling world for everyone.
It's inspiring, isn't it? It suggests that we all have the capacity to make a difference, to create positive change, and to leave the world a little bit better than we found it.
It really is inspiring. And it really comes down to a choice, doesn't it? We can choose to be passive and just let life happen to us, Or we can choose to actively participate, take responsibility for shaping our own lives and making a positive impact on the world around us.
It's about recognizing that we actually have a choice. We have agency. We can choose how we respond to life's challenges, and we can actively create the life we want to live. And I think that choice, the decision to engage with life fully, to strive for something meaningful, to contribute our unique talents and make things better, that's where real fulfillment lies. It's not about achieving some perfect state of happiness. It's about embracing the journey itself with all of its ups and downs.
It's about embracing the totality of the human experience, the good, the bad, the light, and the darkness. Acknowledging that life is messy and unpredictable, but even in the darkest of times, there's always hope. There's always potential for growth and transformation.
Peterson even suggests that we should, consciously choose to suffer, that we should seek out difficult experiences as a way to cultivate character and resilience. I mean, it sounds a little crazy, but his argument is that it's precisely through those experiences that we discover our true strength.
It's like voluntarily stepping into the fire, knowing that it's going to burn, but believing that it will make you stronger.
It's a symbolic death and rebirth.
Yeah.
Like shedding the old self and emerging as a new transformed self. It's a challenging journey, one that requires a lot of courage and commitment. And, he acknowledges that we don't have to go through this alone. He talks about the importance of having a guide. A mentor, someone who's walked this path before us and can offer support along the way.
It's like having a Virgil to our Dante.
Exactly. Someone who can help us face our fears and make sense of our experiences and ultimately integrate them into a more meaningful life. And in the end, Peterson reminds us that this journey of confronting the darkness, of embracing the challenges of life, it's actually the most rewarding journey we can take.
It's through this process that we discover who we truly are, what we're capable of, and what really matters. It's about finding that treasure hidden in the darkness, the wisdom that comes from facing our fears and overcoming those challenges.
So what does all of this mean for our listeners who are out there grappling with their own dragons, their own inner chaos? What's the takeaway here?
It means that we're not alone. There's a path forward, a way to navigate the complexities of life and find meaning and purpose. We have the power to choose how we respond to challenges, to shape our own story, and to create a life that's both meaningful and fulfilling.
It means that we all have the potential for heroism, that we can choose to step up, face our fears, and make a positive impact. We're all in this together. And even when things feel chaotic, there's always hope. There's always potential for growth. And there's always the possibility of creating something beautiful and meaningful out of our experiences. So to wrap things up, if you're interested in exploring these ideas further, definitely check out Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life and Beyond Order.
They're full of insightful perspectives and practical wisdom that can help you navigate the challenges of life.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll see you next time. Strength and honor. I am Spartacus.
Thanks for watching. Tap into 1337podcast.com.